Okay. Since you agreed to the bargain, the information is yours. And I think it's lucky for you that I was given 2 pieces of information, with the idea that I should give you both of them. Both these pieces of information will prove integral to your work in producing more effective nanites. And for both of them, the answer to your problem is that you're thinking of it wrong. I'm thinking of it wrong? Is that really the best that you can muster? Victoria replied, a very displeased expression on her face. What does that even mean? You had better start getting a lot more specific. Don't worry, I will be, Titan replied. Listen, your problem is that you're still thinking of nanites like machines. You're stuck on the concept, and that's what's holding you back. Once again, that's useless information. Oh, let me guess, next you're going to tell me I have to start thinking of them more like cells in the human body. Like I haven't already explored that. I'm the one who invented exploring that. It's the entire basis behind nanotechnology. Yes, it is, Titan replied. However, there's still fundamental flaws in the way that people view it. And by changing your view, suddenly an entirely new world of possibilities opens up. And all you have to do is change your point of view. Sorry for the pun, or rhyme, or whatever. Listen, why don't you figure this out by answering a question? What's the difference between a nanite and a regular cell? A natural one. Fine, I'll play along, Victoria replied. There are countless differences between a human cell and a nanite. The most basic and obvious being that a nanite is simply a machine, while a cell is a biological entity of sorts, simply on a microscopic scale. And there we have our problem. You're still thinking of nanites as a device, a machine. And because you have that concept, you're still trying to treat them like machines. Program them like you would machines. Design them like you would machines. And you're not wrong for making the assumption. They are machines. However, the problem is treating them like that. When you treat nanites like machines, then they have to obey the rules and functionality of machines. You block out any other possibilities. You believe that you need to do things that you just don't need to do. You'd better start making sense very soon, Victoria replied. Don't worry, it's coming. You're very impatient. Okay, once again, let me ask you a question. Why do you think a white blood cell does what a white blood cell does? We all know a white blood cell effectively functions as a protector, a guardian for the body. It finds damaged or infected cells and destroys them. Yes, of course it does. If it didn't, the human race, and basically every other race, wouldn't exist. Correct, Titan replied. And if you're explaining or asking why a white blood cell does what it does, it's because that's a white blood cell's job. That's what they're designed to do. It's all encoded within our genetic programming. Our DNA contains the base design for everything. From our genetic codes, the information that tells a cell how to form, and what the specific function of that cell is encoded in each and every cell in our body. All of them are encoded individually for the different types of cells, based on the information within our genetic code, telling them how and when to divide, what their purpose is. All of that silly nonsense that means nothing. A white blood cell does what a white blood cell does because that's what white blood cells do. It's nothing more complicated than that. That's its purpose, why it was created, the format given to it by our individual genetic coding. Our DNA decides everything: the color of our hair, the color of our skin, even the passage of immune traits from one generation to the next. But machines don't have DNA. They have to rely on us. We have to program them to fulfill specific functions, just like any machine. They're not like human cells. We can't treat them that way. Yes, that is the general thought process. That because a nanite is a machine, that we have to program it. But that's been your problem, hasn't it? Having to program the nanites, which is a difficult enough job in itself. But having to program them to interact with the human body and all of the countless different pieces and elements that move around inside of it. What cells to interact with, what cells not to interact with, where it is in the body, how it's supposed to behave when it's there, where can it travel and where can it not. All of these different things add a massive amount of complication. You have to build and stack more and more onto the nanite in order to include the information, then find ways to make them communicate amongst each other in order to coordinate activities and behaviors. The more information you give them, the more effective they are at their function. But it also massively slows down how quick they are to produce, how adaptable they can be, and limits them in countless ways. And all on the simple basis that you're still thinking of it as a machine, something that you have to program with vast amounts of knowledge in order to understand. But that concept is wrong. That is the first lesson, the first piece of information that I'm supposed to pass to you. And I'll explain it all with, once again, one more question. Do you think a white blood cell knows that it's a white blood cell? What? What is that supposed to mean? Victoria replied. It's a very simple question. Do you think a white blood cell is conscious of its own existence? That it understands that it's a white blood cell? That it understands that its purpose is to destroy infected cells, kill bacteria, things like that? Well, of course not, Victoria replied. You can't apply consciousness to something of that scale. It's just not possible. Even the nanites aren't conscious. I simply have to simplify the directions I give them. Well, you're on the right track, but you're still thinking too big. Strip it all away, down to the most basic tenets. Stop thinking of cells and nanites as different. Stop believing that you have to apply some level of consciousness to it, that you actually have to give it order. You don't. All you really have to give a nanite is ability and a concept, no different from a regular cell. There are things that all of the different cells in our bodies do, but they're not conscious of the fact that they're doing it. It's simply part of their function, how they were created, and because they were created in that fashion, they fulfill the function. No consciousness or awareness is necessary for it. They just do it, just like a white blood cell. A white blood cell isn't conscious of the fact that it's a white blood cell, or that its purpose is to kill bad things in the body in order to protect it. No, a white blood cell is imbued with an ability and a concept. A white blood cell understands what normal is. It is able to perceive what a healthy cell looks like, what a healthy part of your body looks like, from a micro scale, of course. And the ability, of course, to attack cells. Now, by itself, this doesn't seem to mean much at all. But when you put the two together and really put some thought to it, everything becomes clear. White blood cells don't attack bacteria, viruses, because they perceive them as a threat, because they're trying to protect the body. No, it's nothing that complex. They simply note that they are different. They understand what is supposed to be in the body, note that something is not supposed to be there, and because they have the ability to attack other cells, they do, simply choosing to attack what is different rather than what is supposed to be there. It's a very basic concept and a very basic ability, and when you combine the two together, you attain a powerful function.